All right, welcome to the Wyld Farm Family Fun Show, episode 24. Everything on this show, we talk about farm, food, family, and most importantly, fun. If you checked in on any of our episodes, you know that we typically bring on some guests from all different walks of life and have them share their story, their awesomeness with us, and then we dig into what they do and how you can get involved with what they're doing. But we also end the show with some fun in the kitchen with Chef Nick. And tonight is going to be all fun in the kitchen with Chef Nick. And so you guys are in for a treat tonight. We're going to dig into some things in the kitchen to hopefully help you think about how you might do things a little differently, especially if you don't have a lot of tools or anything in the kitchen to use. Plus, Nick's got a couple of favorite things that we're going to dig into that are his staples in the kitchen. So pretty exciting episode for us. Again, we love just having tons of fun, and we appreciate everybody that ends up joining us live. I will mention real quick that we will be announcing a new segment that we're going to build in as part of an interactive piece that will get you more connection with Nick and the questions you have as you're navigating the kitchen. Nick, how are you today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Troy. Happy Thankful Thursday. And I am just very honored and excited to do more with less tonight as the theme of our show tonight. So I figured I'd take that both figuratively and literally because I like to sometimes, become the shirtless chef. One, because I like to get into a really hot, heavy, and dirty. And, sometimes like when that happens, like I know in workouts, like it's just like, get this off me. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So that's what's up.
Well, so now we're all getting to see like the true Nick behind the scenes, but it's all good and fun for anybody that's listening or they'll listen on the podcast and then on the show. It's all good and fun. But yeah, so Nick, let's dig in, man. Tell me about your week.
Before we do, Troy, I want to do a quick check-in with you. Saw a really fantastic video of your youngest son, Keaton, just championing a raw stem of broccoli. So can you explain what that was all about?
Yeah, he well, early on he was good at eating all different types of foods, and he obviously frequently goes to the farmer's market with me that we talk about often too. But he's been a little more pickier lately. But we had Tiff made this awesome broccoli salad, and we put it next to his plate, and he picked that thing up, man. And he just started chomping on that tree like there was no piece of that tree left on the top, for sure. And as he was doing it, I was like, I got to capture this moment because how many 20-month-olds just devour a piece of raw broccoli like that. And so it seems to be a hit too on social, which is
well, he deserves to get some notice on that one. I will say that. And I don't know how I couldn't do that with a raw broccoli stem myself. So all the props to Keaton, and that was a really awesome video. And thank you for sharing that with us. And what else is going on with the family, Troy? Like what's present and good and fun in your family, you and your family's life right now?
Yeah. School's going good. We switched up our routine a little bit, provided some structure, a little bit more independent learning with some, a little bit of self-taught, and then having them be accountable and responsible is what we're trying to teach them early on. So a little shift there. It's working a little bit better. And we're still dabbling as homeschool parents, but so that's ringing pretty good. And then obviously the weather's starting to get a little bit nicer here, which is good because we're outside and getting to leverage my rip sticking skills, which means I need to ask you, have you got yet, man?
I haven't had a chance to rip stick it up, and I might become not only a shirtless chef, but a ripstick chef here one of these days too. So we might have some real fun here very, 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 very soon.
Just think about it. People will be thinking you're moonwalking around the kitchen there. They have no idea. It's like, wow, he's just really getting around there.
Get the hips involved, right? Get the hips involved.
Hey, that's all that it takes for the ripstick. So,
well, I got good hip thrusts, so I'll be good to go. So.
Oh man, well, good man. What's present with you besides digging in the kitchen tonight?
So it's been a great day. I'm very grateful. I got my second round of the COVID vaccine, so I'm very grateful for that and having that access and just all the men and women out there working hard to make that possible for us. So that's present, and the weather also in Minnesota is just slowly starting to come to life here in the spring. So that also is such a great. It's also an inspiring time as someone who likes to spend so much time in the kitchen, right? With new things like in-season stuff finally starting to maybe not quite yet here in Minnesota, but it's promising, right? With the bounty of local fresh produce, foods, vegetables, fruits, and we were just really excited for the good weather to bring us that bounty. So
yes, absolutely, man, absolutely. So tonight we're going to dig into, the theme is doing more with less, obviously. And I'll allude to that a little bit. And so Nick and I are working on a project that is related to a new company that we're about to launch here that supports food assistance programs at farmers markets. And so one of the segments that we want to provide as part of the application is food prep and food tips in the kitchen. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be food assistance, but sometimes we don't have certain utensils that others may have, or we may see as a utensil you use to prep something. But I'm talking to Nick. I know that he cares a lot about the integrity and the intensity of what he puts into how he makes his food, and you don't need expensive mixers and all of that. And so we're going to dig into that, and hopefully this is a helpful tool for our new segment and our work that Nick and I are doing. So just kind of give you a heads up on that. But Nick, let's dig in, man. Tell us what you got going on.
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Troy, for that introduction as to what we have working on in behind the scenes here of the Wyld Family Farm Show. So here's what's going to kind of go down tonight, folks. So we're going to just walk through, what I call like some essential equipment that is like essential equipment that really helps make your time in the kitchen really efficient and enjoyable. And I'm not saying that I need to go out or you need to go out and buy like all these expensive trinkets. We're going to just really do it like grandma had to do it. Like, so there's going to be no electric tools. It's going to be hand whisking. It's going to be knives on the cutting board and just a couple pieces of equipment to help transform that food so that it can get to your table, get to your plate, and then to your table and into the mouths of those that you love and care about. And so we're going to walk through a couple pieces there. And then at the end of the show, we're always wanting to do less with more. So I'm going to put together a couple salad, sauces that are very simple, super simple ingredients, maybe no more than 5 or 6 ingredients. And so, again, we're doing less with more. And with those sauces, the taste is going to be better and it is going to be better for you because we're not throwing a bunch of other preservatives or additives to it that we need. And we're just going to do a little rough breakdown of just, again, brushing up on what really makes taste possible or what we're looking for. So, from the top, I would say that most essential equipment that I use in the kitchen more than anything else is going to be my knife. And I've talked about this a number of different times throughout the show, but having a chef knife that you really like, and it doesn't have to be a $300 knife. I have some. We'll share some links in the program notes here about what some of the equipment that I'm going to be talking about, and just for reference, I'm not endorsing. I'm not paid. We're not paid to endorse anything here. I'm just using some of the things that I've learned, some of the equipment that I've really enjoyed using in my time being in the kitchen. And God knows I've spent a lot of time in the kitchen. But the thing that, like, I'm going to say again is, like, having a awesome cutting board and a knife that you really like and that does the job really, really well. And with having a knife, you want to always, depending on if it's a $40 or $50 knife or a $300 knife, we want to keep things healthy. We want to keep our tools sharp and ready for use. So one of the things that you're also going to want to use with your chef knife is also to get a kitchen honer. So the kitchen honer doesn't necessarily, again, sharpen the knife, but it cleans it up and it keeps the integrity of the blade intact, and it will keep you from having to get it sharpened probably less frequently. So a quick little rundown of the chef knife and the kitchen honer. So there's a few different ways that you can go about honing the knife. So if I have a kitchen towel, which is also an essential equipment, I'm going to put that knife honer down, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the blade of the knife right to left. So if you get a little bit more advanced, then another thing you could do would be hold it out and then just sort of rotate the blade out as such. And then if you get really good, you can make it look like you're in a horror movie.
Nice, man.
So the knife, the cutting board, and knife honer are I would say is essential equipment. And another little quick thing, why you want kitchen towels around, like if you have a cutting board that doesn't have little rubber stoppers or anything, I like to always have like a damp towel underneath so that the board doesn't slide around on me. So we're talking about the knife and we're talking about the kitchen honer. Do you have any questions, Troy, about a kitchen knife or what someone might be looking for?
Yeah. So walk us through maybe different styles of knife that you would use for different prep. So I imagine maybe you use that same knife that you were just showing us with many or all of your dishes, but I would imagine you could use different styles of knife, or like so walk that through. Like, what would you use that knife for versus the knife for?
That's a great question. So given that we're trying to do less with more, the one knife that I've used more often than not is just a straight up, like, I think this is an 8-inch chef knife. Okay. I think it's called like a katana blade. But I like the point here. So like if last week when we were cutting through chicken bone, like through the chicken carcass, I could use this knife.
Okay.
I don't have to have that deboning knife. Now, if you have the deboning knife, it's kind of a luxury. It's not a necessity.
Yeah.
So another blade that I like to use is one, again, it doesn't have that pointy tip, but this is like a workhorse. If I'm cutting lots of vegetables, doing things for stews, chilies, salads, I really like these flat tipped blades as well. Again, I can do the same with this, but this one's also a really fun knife to have around. And I think the key here is that, like, if you go and invest in I think this knife might be $89. That might, if you go and invest that and you find yourself cooking a lot, that could graduate you into really using different knives for different purposes.
Yeah.
So I think find yourself cooking a lot, and then once you're cooking a lot and you're seeing like, wow, like this knife would be really helpful here, then I would say is when you should go out and buy that set of knives.
Okay.
Another knife that people might really want to have, if they're cutting, breads or whatever, is that serrated type of blade as well. So that helps with, like, I really only use it to like cut bread and I guess you could do, you can't really cut much else with that, in my opinion.
The bread knife. Let's just call it the bread knife.
Just call it the bread knife. So,
hey, a little fun question here. Like, I know you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, man. So do you name your utensils? Like, do your knives have names?
That is a great question. And I am such a big fan of the Lord of the Rings, and I love how all of the blades in that series and in that canon have names. But actually, I've never actually named my knife. So,
there you go. There's a takeaway for you. I was just curious. Like, I know some people that are close to their stuff, like, have like these names, like that they call their knives, So I was just
so just for a fun fact, I do have a nickname. So I was going to show people, like, the different types of stock pots you can have. But I like
that stock pot. Man, that is huge.
This one's Fat Bastard.
That's fitting.
If you want to feed the neighborhood with a chili or soup or something, this is the baby you're going to get. You cannot buy this at Walmart or Target or any other type of like home goods. That you got to go to like Restaurant Depot and get the heavy duty stuff. This is industrial stuff. So this is Fat Bastard. So I do have some names for things.
So how would you? I'm just curious. Like, how do you heat that thing up, or how you keep that thing going? Like, does it take a while, or do you have a different method?
So I do have a. So they have like butane burners that it's a 1 unit that heats really big pans and pots. There's even pots that are much bigger than that. Like I could pots so big I could probably like curl up inside and they could stew me, right? Which would be really freaky and not cool. But that is possible. So
sweet. All right, cool.
This works also on my stovetop here. It just gets a little bit, if I'm really in there, you kind of you have to graduate your equipment a little bit, maybe get a wand rather than a spoon, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is cool, right? To have like a giant wand that you're mixing with in the kitchen. So
at least you really feel like a magician, right? You're just
right.
Or like churning butter or something like that, right? So
or ice cream.
Or ice cream, yes. Or ice cream.
What else
okay. So what I was trying to think of is like, again, like if I wanted to, like, if I just moved into a home that had no kitchen equipment and I wanted to cook something, I was just like, well, what are a few things that I would essentially need? So we talked about the knife, the cutting board. A real quick note here. There's different types of, lots of different types of cutting boards out there. One thing, I have this nice one that I use for, special occasions and things like that, that my dad made for me. So that has like some sentimental value. There are those plastic ones. And if you're going to go that route, one of the things I like to say, and this isn't essential, but once you get going, you have different cutting boards for different purposes. So I have one cutting board for raw meat, one cutting board for aromatics, another cutting board for cutting just clean things. So I'm not cross-contaminating that kind of thing. So if you start to graduate up, now it's not essential, but that is a possibility there.
Now, Nick, how do you clean your wood cutting board there?
So this I'll use soap and water. And then if I do get an aromatic on here, like if I'm cutting onions and it's starting to like bleed into my food, or I can like sniff test it, garlic and stuff like that, what I'll do is I'll use a mixture of baking soda and vinegar, and then I'll scrub it out, let it rest, and that baking soda and vinegar will absolve that scent and that aromatic. And then in order to keep the integrity of the wood here, I'm going to use mineral oil on occasion to kind of keep things nice and moist, keep the integrity of the wood going. I know with a lot of wood cutting boards that people might have used, or it happens to them, it starts to split. So that mineral oil is going to help keep things together.
So that's interesting. So where do you get mineral oil? Just on Amazon?
Well, you can get it at Target or the grocery store, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I didn't know that. That's new to me.
All right. So where we're going to go to next. Okay. So we're going to talk real quick about sheet trays. Okay. This is also an essential thing. So I do a lot of roasting of sweet potatoes, broccoli, mushrooms, chicken, you name it. Anything can live on here. So buying yourself a decent sheet tray, baking sheet, whatever you want to call it. You want a few of these. So what I like to do is when I'm really starting to cook a lot, like I have 3 or 4 of these. And so what I do is as 2 of them are baking, I'm getting my other sheet trays ready so that like I can just cycle through those sheet trays. And the other thing that I learned, or that we learned, Troy, was, this is made of aluminum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to really be mindful, or I'm becoming more mindful of the metals that could seep into our food while we're cooking. Troy, would love if you maybe shared with the audience maybe just a brief recap of what Dr. Cabral, one of our guests, came on, but some of the toxicity of metals in our day-to-day life.
Yeah, so he specializes in Ayurvedic naturopathic medicine, and one of the areas of focus he does is toxins. And toxins, and Nick's got his book there. It's called The Rain Barrel Effect. But he talks a lot about toxins in the home and in our food. And so oftentimes we think about, pesticides and things like that inside our food. But what we don't think about is what heavy metals and toxins get in there. And that could be from the pans that you cook with. Nick and I found out that cast iron pans, or the old style cast iron pans, used to be made with lead. Like there was traces of lead in there. And so when you cook with those things, or aluminum or anything like that, and it gets in your food, small traces of it are not going to probably cause a problem. But over time, if you use that consistently, they could build up in your body. And what Dr. Rao talks about is that it's not the little traces of toxins that become a problem for you in your health. It's that we're surrounded by so many toxins in our food, in our cosmetics, in our household products, that our body can't keep up with detoxifying. Our liver can't actually keep up with getting rid of all those toxins from external or internal if we're ingesting them. And so if we can limit those, then we can make sure that our body is able to do its detoxifying process. And so just be mindful of what you cook with. And Nick's going to share a tip here on how you can kind of shield yourself from the aluminum, because the pan can be a tool to cook with. It's just thinking about how to cook with it.
Yes. Thank you, Troy. That was so well said. And that is a fantastic episode. So if you're catching us for the first time or missed that one, please go back and check that episode out with Dr. Cabral. So what he was saying, Troy was alluding, is that these toxins can get into our food, and we want to create some kind of barrier that would keep those toxins, those metal toxins from hitting our food. So a real simple, easy mechanism, layer for protection is just a sheet of parchment paper.
Yeah.
So not only is it protecting your health, the other side of this is it is so much better for cleanup because the food's not crusting on there. You just lift this up and then just scrub. You know, you can obviously you still have to use soap and water, but it's not just caked onto the pan. And then another great thing is that when you're transferring like a sheet tray full of sweet potatoes, like you can scoop it up here and then dump it all into your storage container. So we're talking about like rather than 10 scoops this way, one giant scoop into one big storage container saves, like those little things save immense amount of time. So
yep.
Parchment paper over the aluminum, better for your health, better for cleanup, and those little things that can help us save a little bit of time. Where I'm always looking for those efficiencies in the kitchen. So, and obviously you would need an oven to use this. So I hope I'm not, some people don't have an oven, but you would definitely you need an oven for this, to use this tool. And then speaking of, we'll actually just go straight into it. I do use a cast iron pan. There's also, these really nice non-stick skillet pans out there now too. So we're going to talk through those two things. So what I would use this cast iron pan for, I do it for searing. I do it to heat things back up. I also cook my eggs in here because I through time I've been able to, really season what they call a cast iron pan. So it seasons so well that I can cook eggs in here and it's not gonna like stick to the pan. So this takes time. A cast iron pan might not be something that you go off and buy straight off the bat, but I do really love this as a tool in the kitchen. And just make sure, Troy, did you find out what years we're talking about as far as how far back the lead goes in cast iron pans? Did Tiff find that out?
If she's listening tonight, maybe she can kind of chat that in on what research she's found. But all I could really say is that the history goes back to the old style of making them, which is probably back when most things contain lead. Because if you think about it, most of your older homes even have paint in the walls that were made with lead-based paint. Nowadays, you can buy paint that have no VOCs and things like that. And so if you think about it in a contextual way, that the history of how products were made contained lead and other chemicals, or actually other metals, that nowadays, now that we know better, do not. So if she is able to chat that in, I'll make sure I'll share that with listeners.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. So a cast iron pan is something that, again, not something that is that you need to get right away. So you can do lots of different things. I just came across, so I had an incident. I don't have it with me. So I had a nonstick that I do like some eggs on every now and again. And then what happened over a couple of years, Troy, was what I noticed, I cooked an egg and it had the flakes of the nonstick surface got into my food, and I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good. I don't know. That's obviously probably not good to eat. So I did some research on some nonstick skillets, and it seems like the technology and the awareness of companies is sort of catching up. So there's this Go Green type of nonstick skillet. So it doesn't have that Teflon layer. So this is a steel bottom, and then There is no like Teflon on the bottom, so it's not going to scrape up at some point. But I would say like something like this, where there's, you know, some of the modern technology of these nonstick skillets is going to be your best bet for the building your kitchen into like doing less with more, because you can do a lot with this pan. And you know, you can do eggs in here, you can do your skillet, bringing things back up to heat. So you have a lot of versatility with this pan right here. And I was told when I bought this that you can actually put this in the oven at 300, which you can't do that with other non-stick skillets. So so there's some new technology out there as far as non-stick skillets are concerned. I would definitely be paying attention to that. And then another thing that Dr. Cabral also mentioned was, you know, what I had been doing for, I don't know, 3 years now, was like using a metal spatula on my cast iron pan. And what's happening there, I probably need to go on a detox with Dr. Cabral, is what I'm probably alluding to here. So because of that information, I went out and I tried to do some research around like, well, what would be the best tool out there so I can still like scrape and still like have the integrity of the utensil, like a steel spatula. And I found these bamboo kind of spatulas made by, I think it's Epicurean, but they have a really nice edge on them, and they're bamboo. So I kind of felt like I scored with that. So when you have a nonstick skillet, you're going to need some kind of spatula. So I'm getting to the point is that you'll want to buy a spatula, especially on a nonstick skillet. You don't want to use metal anyway. So finding something bamboo or silicone based like this one, that works too. So those types of tools in the kitchen, you're going to need, because you can't put your fingers in here when it's hot and burn yourself. So you're going to want these types of tools so that you can scrape, flip, stir, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I like the bamboo. That's cool, man. And thanks for doing the research on that too. After that, we have some metal spatulas that I often would scrape the cast iron pan. I mean, I cook with cast iron pans all the time.
Yeah, it's same here. It didn't even dawn on me until learning from Dr. Cabral, like, wow, like I might be doing these types of things. So
yeah, no, it's very helpful to know those. If you're just joining us live here, we're talking about toxins in the home and cooking utensils, and how to be mindful that some of our pans and spatulas and such can bring out more toxins potentially in the foods that we're eating. So yeah. So Nick, back up a little bit too. We use glass pans. Do you use glass pans at all too?
I don't have any glass pans. I use all metal, or there's I do have some. There's some in Nashville. I have a copper bottom, but I haven't done a lot of research around the glass. So tell me about your experience with the glass.
It seems to work pretty well. I just noticed that certain foods stick to the pan quite a bit, even if you're using like olive oil or any type of coconut oil. So I noticed that they stick a little bit more. But what's nice is like kind of what you said, and you can do this with cast iron too, but you can cook in it, and then you could put that glass pan in the oven, right, if you wanted to bake something.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it works out pretty well. I was going to ask you too, so to kind of back up a little bit before we dig into some other tools here, if you're somebody that probably leans more towards like takeout and things like that, because like walking into a kitchen and preparing food is a little bit scary. Like I don't know what to do, or, you know, I don't want to spend the time because I don't know what to do. And so is there anything you can share with them as far as like how you came into this love of food and like where that comes from, so people can not only like learn these tips from you, but they can be a little bit more inspired to know that if they go to a market and they get fresh food from a farm, what do they do with it? How do they feel comfortable like cooking something like sweet potatoes or beets or whatever? And so, just dig into that a little bit for people, because the passion that you have as a chef, maybe they can kind of resonate with and feel a little bit supported when they walk home with that fresh vegetables and fresh fruits and do something with it.
Yeah, that's a great question, Troy, and thank you for bringing that to bringing that into this episode. So first and foremost, I think you're not if you're scared or frightened being in the kitchen, like, you're certainly not alone. And any time that we decide to want to grow and learn something, there's going to be a period of uncertainty and frustration, because with that uncertainty comes frustration, and then it might just cause us to get so frustrated that I don't even want to do this anymore. And so what I'm going to share, which was sort of the guiding principle, and I think I'll say this for everybody, but I think when you want to start in the kitchen, what we want to do, or what you want to do, is to, because the cooking process is going to be frustrated, we need to know what our intention is. Like, what is the pain that is really driving this? So yes, I might get frustrated in the kitchen, but what is the pain? Like, what is it that I really want to change, and why am I doing this? And being reminding ourselves of what that is. For me, I got into cooking and built my passion for cooking because I was just getting sober, and it was eating healthy, making my own food, and moving my body was the only thing that made sense. And so, yes, I went through my period of frustration in the kitchen and not knowing how to do stuff, and burning things and smelling up the house and setting up the fire alarm. So mistakes are gonna happen, and it's okay. Yeah. But I always kept reminding myself, I'm gonna do better next time. And the reason I'm doing this is because I need, it wasn't about becoming a better cook or a better chef. It was about me just trying to live one more day sober. So the pain that I had was I was trying to make a significant life change, which I'm sure many people are who are trying to come into the kitchen. So knowing what that is that you want to change and letting that be your guiding principle is what we really need to get focused on.
Beautiful, man. Yeah. And so I wanted to dig into that, because I know a lot of people, we talk about kitchen, we talk about recipes, we talk about food prep, but a lot of times it's difficult for people to get started in the kitchen. And so if I could add anything there, and this is coming from experience of not only myself in the kitchen, but just getting young kids in the kitchen, is creativity. And so there's so much, and if you've watched any of the previous episodes with Nick here in the kitchen and what he does, and he whips up these meals, creativity at its finest can help drive that motivation, not only just the desire to have something on the table that you created for your family and yourself to consume, but just playing around a little bit, putting some stuff on it, and maybe it doesn't go well, but it at least gives you something to work towards. And build that so that you can feel fun, you can feel comfort, and feel hopefully healthier in that journey. So
yes, thank you for sharing that, Troy. And it's an access point to conversation, even if you burn it, right? It's a conversation.
Yeah,
you can always do something different.
Who doesn't like those moments?
I mean, but if it's good, then you have you're getting acknowledged, and that feels good. And it's not necessarily about me being acknowledged, but it's about really bringing the healthiest food made with love to those that you love.
Yeah.
Like there's no better gift than to nourish those that I love with good food and like the love that I intentionally bring into it.
Yeah, and I love what you said earlier there about the conversations, right? Because it's about moments. Like I can think about many times of like burnt situations of what didn't work out all the way back to childhood, and then I chatted in here also. Any of the viewers that are listening and want to chat in their burnt meal stories, would love to have them bring in here because that's what it's about, right? And so if you feel fearful in the kitchen and you're just getting started, and these tips from tonight are helpful to you, think about those moments that you could create in the kitchen and how that laughter is sparked or whatever it is. Even like if you're angry in the moment and then you got to flip that to a laughter afterwards and be like, that was so ridiculous. But I mean, I remember when I was a kid, Nick, that I was dabbling trying to make like cookies, right? And I put this random ingredients together and I forgot like the main ingredient, which was, I don't know, like baking soda and flour. And the cookies never rose. And it was like a flat sheet cake with just chocolate chips or whatever in it. I was just like scraping it off the pan. That's what it's about. Like go back to those moments, you know? So just, just enjoy it the best you can. We'll see what comes into the story here. I do have, Tiff actually chatted in to your question here. It says, what I've read is cast iron pans should be used in moderation because of the high levels of iron. Some cast iron pans are more dangerous and may contain lead. I did look into a lead testing kit for pans since we use our cast iron every day, still doing some research. So that's interesting because I think there's a gender dynamic here, right? Where oftentimes maybe women require a little bit more iron. And therefore maybe using cast iron pans is good, right? Or the more time you use it versus males. Like maybe males already have that iron intake from, let's call it meat sources or milk or whatever that is. And then excess iron through cast iron may put you over the level. And so maybe there's something to be studied there as well.
That's a huge distinction. Very interesting. I'm going to be inquiring more with you and Tiff about that. So, and just another real quick point, and we're not going to probably spend too much more time here, but if you are coming into the kitchen and, you're fearful and afraid, that you're dealing with, obviously like sharp objects, and you're dealing with hot items, right? Fire and hot stove tops. And, what I really just want to stress is that, like, if you're just getting going, like, just take your time. Yeah. And I know you might need it. It's only going to get more efficient as you do it. And I know in my course, and if anybody has questions, maybe we'll do another segment here on like kitchen safety.
Yeah.
So I think that may be what we'll do. But, like even when, like, for instance, like why I want to keep this knife sharp is because it's going to help me move faster. And if I do happen to nick myself, which still happens to me, that wound is going to clean faster and heal quicker with a sharp knife versus a dull knife. And more accidents, to my knowledge, happen with a dull knife than a sharp knife.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we here use, and we've had many stories of like burns, right? Like grabbing a hot pan. And we tend to use lavender oil to make sure that the scab doesn't turn too worse and actually lowers the pain. Do you have any tips that you use when you cut yourself on accident with a knife?
With the knife, it depends on how bad it is. So if I have to keep going, I usually they have these little kitchen cots or finger cots. I would like wrap it up and then put a finger cot on so that like the blood or, it's not going to transfer into my food, especially if I'm cooking for other people and I'm in a hurry and I don't have time to do that. Obviously, I'd want to do like, if it's my finger, I want to, apply pressure, put it up overhead, clean it, and then I just put a bandage on it. And then I didn't know about lavender oil, but I'm gonna look into that. So
yeah, it's worked for us and the kids. I mean,
and just watch it, and then just watch it when you deal with citrus like limes, because then it really stings.
Anything, right?
Or salt. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Whew. Okay, so we touched a lot of different bases. The only other thing that we'll talk just real briefly is, is just a straight up stock pot. Okay, you also have like different sizes of saucepans, things like that. So these things are good for, like rices. You can put potatoes in here and boil them down and make mashed potatoes. There's all sorts of things you can do with those like saucepans. But this guy right here, this is great for like stews, soups, chilies, and then which we haven't done a lot of, and maybe we'll do so with a lot of vegetables coming out here pretty soon. We'll do a whole series on blanching. So blanching is when you have you need a big stock pot. Yeah. And then you bring a bunch of water to boil. You can salt it up, and then you just throw those veggies like spinach or whatever, green beans. You could do this with broccoli, asparagus, anything. And you just you zap it in the water while it's boiling, and then you'll take it out after a minute or two, and then give it a nice an ice bath to sort of shock your food from cooking any further. So it's blanching is essentially boiling water to ice bath. So, and I love that for my human body too. Getting hot in the sauna and then going to an ice bath. So there we go. That's how you become a chef. You go to the sauna and then jump into the ice bath. That's how it works.
Well, that's your daily regimen.
I cook my food. How about that?
Nice.
Well, okay. So, all right. So we're gonna. Any other questions on just kind of essential equipment items there, Troy?
No, so I guess to kind of recap, just your knife is important, like what type of knife you have, and whatever knife you have, you can work with. Making sure you take care of it if you can with a honer, right? Having potentially a couple of different boards, cutting boards for the different types of food, and then the various different types of pots and pans that you can use. But I really love the piece too that we digged into on how you can just get started and feel supported in there. I mean, that's important. That's the utensils will be there for you and you can make it work. But you have to have that motivation too.
Yes. And I'll also say this, there's a lot of kitchen equipment out there. And if I'm being brutally honest, a lot of it's just worthless. I'm not like, and I'm that's really harsh of me to say. I choose me versus a like vegetable chopper per se. I'm going to opt to do it with my hands and my knife. One, I just really want to work. I want to experience that food. I want to feel that onion like spark my eye. I want to feel what that squash looks like. I want to hold it in my hands. Like I want to be very interactive with my food. Like that's a part of the joy that I have as a chef is I get to interact it. I get to touch it. I get to, then eventually transform it. And I feel like there's a separation like when you just put it in a processor. And I'm not saying I don't use processors, but I just there's just even like an avocado knife, for example, or avocado spoon or something. I'm just like, just use this and a spoon, right? Like you don't need to go and buy these things that you have readily available. So I just wanted to share that too, that there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't really necessary, that is more of a luxury. And even then, I don't even know if it's, and then it just like you use it once and then it sits in your cupboard or your drawer and you use it maybe that first time and then never again, which is just a big waste of money. And this is the thing I pick up every single time I come into the kitchen.
Yes. So. Awesome. And so I'll take the chance here to mention this. Nick and I have talked through today, and we're going to provide a platform where you can do a chat with Nick or a question for Nick segment, which means we're going to create a way where you can chat in or send us any questions you have for Nick about you and your kitchen. In other words, if you have a certain set of tools and you're like, hey, what do I do with this? Or, what can I do with this, I guess? Chat that in for Nick and we will cover it on the show. And so what we're trying to build in here is everybody's experience in the kitchen is different. Everybody's kitchen might be different, but we're hoping that through these conversations and Nick, that we can help you feel supported in the kitchen.
Yes. And I am for hire shirtless in late night hours. So let's just get that cleared out of the way. So, okay. So we're going to close this segment. We're going to still talk a little bit about equipment, but we're also going to talk a little bit about sauces. So we're going to whip up a couple sauces, and we're also going to talk a little bit about equipment still. So we're just going to whip up a basic balsamic vinaigrette, okay? So when it comes to balsamic vinaigrette or any vinaigrette, any sauce, we're looking for a fat, an acid, some salt, and a little sweet. And I like to have a little apostrophe at that end. There's sometimes a spice component to it as well that I like to explore, but not with the balsamic vinaigrette. So the fat in this will be the olive oil. The sweet and the acid will be from a red wine vinegar and the balsamic vinegar and a little mustard. Okay. And then the salt's going to just come from a basic salt. So the equipment that you're going to need is you're going to want, I didn't talk about this, but you're going to want a good amount of kitchen bowls, whether it be glass or metal. It doesn't matter. Well, I suppose maybe it does, but just for my novice understanding of metals in the kitchen from where it was, I just have metal kitchen bowls. So what you're going to want to do here, because we're going to do two things. We're going to use both hands. So I want to put like a little, this is why we have kitchen towels. So I'm going to do a little turban at the bottom of the bowl so that this thing isn't going to slide around on me while I'm whisking and emulsifying with the oil and the vinegars.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So to start, I'm going to eyeball about a teaspoon of mustard. And I'm not a big guy on measurements. It's not to say that you can't, but what I'm looking for in most vinaigrettes is a 3-to-1 ratio. I'm also going to talk through that fat, acid, salt, and sweet. So what I look for when I like vinaigrettes, I like them maybe on a touch more acidic than I do like fatty. So I'm going to eyeball a little bit of red wine vinegar. So let's say I'm going to make about a cup of this. I'm going to do about a half a cup of vinegar and the red wine vinegar and the balsamic vinegar.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do probably about a half cup to about 3/4 cup of olive oil. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start whisking the olive oil, or I'm sorry, the vinegars and the mustard. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple pinchfuls of salt. And this gives me a moment to talk about my beautiful little salt jar. I love just having the salt jar available to me. If I had the crankers, I would have to stop and crank, put down. So that's an efficiency step that I built in that I just have that salt when I need a little lick of salt or I'm trying to improve salt. I just have a combination of coarse kosher salt and pepper mixed in here together. So that's a little pro tip for all you up and coming chefs out there. So I'm going to just start whisking, and then I'm going to start to slowly, the best I can. Whoop. It's kind of hard to spin, whisk, and then
you better build in a little bit of.
So here's a pro tip. Pro tip is squeeze your butt.
I was gonna say, you better help build in a little CrossFit multitasking exercise so you can work on whisking and pouring at the same time.
Well, this is how Grandma had to do it. So again, like you could use a blender, right? You could use they have these like wands that you could plug in. But again, these are essential. Those are luxuries. We're just doing it like Grandma had to do, right? So Grandma would have had to just like do it this way. So that's why I got to get better. Okay. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a taste here. So I have a little bit, for me, it's not salty enough. So I'm going to add a touch of salt. And I think I need to add a little bit more balsamic vinegar, because it tastes a little bit too fatty for me. So I'm going to go again. And what I'm doing here, Troy, is I'm just emulsifying, spinning, whisking. All right. And so what you can do here, give it another taste test. Yep, there we go. So again, I'm looking for that balance of that fat from the olive oil, the vinegars, the acid, and the salt. And that balsamic vinegar has a little bit of sweetness to it. So it's going to have all 4 notes there.
Nice.
So one can add just so what I'm going to share next is another thing I like to do. So I transfer most of my sauces and stuff into like a squeeze bottle. You could also put this into like a bell jar with a tight fitting lid, and then when you want to use it, you just shake it up. So I'm going to transfer that over, and I could use my spatula, kind of like get all the little remnants there down at the bottom of the bowl. And there we go. So there you have a simple balsamic vinaigrette. And this goes well on many salads. I can go on a bowl, a sex salad. Yep, I said sex salad. But yes, so then I have a little bit of a, the reason I like this is that when I go and dress something, I can make it look kind of sexy, right? I can make it look nice. It makes it look like I'm doing something really cool when like you sauce something at the very end. So yeah, I like these for that purpose. And yeah, if you want to impress your girlfriend, your wife, or that girl you just gotta go on a date with through your dating app, put your dressing up in here. So
oh man, was that like a Tinder tip?
That's a Tinder tip. Yes, that's a Tinder tip. I don't know if they use. Yeah, they still use Tinder. All right. So final thing we're gonna do. We're gonna do another segment sometime on. I think we've done one segment on mayonnaise, right? So that's a mother. Call it like a mother mayonnaise. It's a base for many, many sauces.
Yeah.
We'll do lots of aiolis, like a garlic, yellow curry, lemon aioli. I do stuff with black garlic and charred cilantro, or charred jalapenos and cilantro. So you can do lots of different things with mayonnaise. And I think in one of the episodes, we actually made a mayonnaise using a whisk.
Yeah.
So it is possible. We're not going to do that because it takes about 10 minutes to do. But I want to just show you how to make a real simple lemony poppy seed dressing that you could then put on like a chicken salad or any type of other salad. So give me 1 second as I pull out the mayonnaise. So when I make my mayonnaise, I have to keep it in the fridge. So it's just eggs, avocado oil, mustard, salt, and apple cider vinegar. So if you look at that's what, 4 or 5 ingredients, I think. And you look at the back label of some of that mayonnaise, there's 600 things in there. So again, it takes a little bit. It's very it takes a little time, but like it is a fantastic thing, and I think I use mayonnaise on everything. So, all right. So what I'm gonna do, I got my my garlic powder, my apple cider vinegar, my honey, and I got some poppy seeds and my lemon. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some mayonnaise into my bowl here. I'm going to add then a little apple cider vinegar. A little garlic powder, some honey, and again, the same principles apply here. So the mayonnaise is my fat, the acid here is the apple cider vinegar, the honey is sweet, a little bit of extra taste with the garlic, a little salt, and it's a little bit more acid with the. I'm going to add some lemon zest into this as well. So I'm using a zester, which isn't, you would need a zester if you wanted to do lemon peel. Lots of riboflavin, so good micronutrients in here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to add some poppy seeds. And then essentially all I'm going to do is I'll take that same spoon. I could also use that whisk, but I'm just going to whip up the mayonnaise with the honey, the apple cider vinegar, poppy seeds, lemon zest, garlic powder, and a little salt. And you can kind of see here, I know it's not very good, but I have a real nice like lemon poppy seed dressing here. Real super simple. And then with, so then I have this big bowl of chicken salad. So it's like rotisserie chicken that I pulled. I have, or you could buy this from the store. Some apples, some celery, some pecans. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer that over into my chicken salad. And then give it a good mix. Whoop.
Now, Nick, you didn't add any sugar or anything to your poppy seed dressing, did you?
No, I added honey, though.
Yeah, and so what I wanted to call out here is a lot of the dressings that you can buy at a grocery store for poppy seed have a ton of sugar. Like just if there's anything to be mindful about when you buy that versus making it is you're getting like, I think some of them have anywhere between 15 to 20 grams of sugar in there. And so this is also another benefit because that's a high sugar to be adding to just your salad or whatever.
That's a great point, Troy. I'm sorry. Every time I eat chicken salad in front of me, I can't stop eating it. All right. So yes. And that's why, Troy, you raised such a great point. In that, like, I just want to have, like, if I were really thinking about, if I was going to make one adjustment in my diet, if I really want to get started, what I would do is I would start just making my own sauces from scratch.
Yes.
That type of those canola oils, those like highly processed oils, those cause such high inflammation.
Yes.
We're using olive oil and avocado oil here. And if I control those ingredients, there were 4 or 5 in each of them, 5 or 6, maybe a little bit more, but still, I'm not naming things that my grandma didn't use.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can't name half those things on that poppy seed dressing at the store because there's all other sorts of things. And so I really think if we can start to learn how to make our own sauces, our health improves, the amount of ingredients that goes into it decreases, and I think the taste and the health also improve. So, and you can make it look super sexy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I started using this besides the homemade sauces and all that. I'm a big coconut aminos person, where I'll just throw coconut aminos on my salad to give it a little bit of flavor, and just small things like that, so that can give it the flavor that you're really looking for.
And you could even just do, even if you didn't want to go through that whole process of mixing up the balsamic vinegar, like you could just drizzle the olive oil and the balsamic vinegar on there as well. So
yes, very cool, awesome, man. Well, thanks for going through that. Now I'm excited to see the other sauces that you got too, because we definitely use a lot of olive oil and coconut oil and things like that. I'm just really looking forward to digging into those sauces with you.
Yes, 100%. And the other thing I'll just add there is my girlfriend Stacy. She also she really likes my sauce, so it's really good for impressing those, impressing people that you're in love with. So with your sauce, so.
So when I asked Stacy why she chose to stick around with you after all these years, and she's going to say it's in the sauce.
It's in the sauce. Secret's in the sauce. Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for the fun in the kitchen tonight, man. It was great. If you're just joining us late or you watched this whole episode, hopefully you had a lot of laughter, because today's segment theme was doing less with more. Or doing more with less, I'm sorry. And Nick was definitely gracious enough to give us some fun with that too. And so hope you enjoyed that. Also, dig into the piece on how to get motivated in the kitchen too, because that's probably where it starts for most people that choose not to go in the kitchen, even if it's time. I mean, you're choosing to not spend that time for some reason, right? And even though you know that if you were in the kitchen, you probably would be happier, healthier, and all those things. And so consider those points too. So thanks again, Nick. Thank you, everybody that joined us live. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Tiff, helping out on the back end, answering some questions. So thank you, Tiff.
Yes, and Tiff is my wife, for everybody out there.
That's right. Yes, that's Troy's wife. Yes.
She's awesome at helping us out when we need and digging into some research. She spends a lot of time looking into these things for our own family. So, but thank you, everybody that has supported us through episode 24 now. And again, we talk about everything farm, food, family, and most importantly, a ton of fun. And to cue it up, we have a special guest of family of mine actually coming up next week, who runs an interesting Lego business and also has a really good story and family dynamic to bring on. So looking forward to that. And then we also have Kids Eat Color and a few other guests coming up to help you feel supported as far as getting your kids to want to actually eat food and be in the kitchen. And so look forward to that to come. So thanks again. I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll see you next week.
See you, everyone. Thank you.